Hi and welcome. Many people are using the internet to try to find a therapist. And my hope in recording this video is that it will give you a clearer sense of whether we're a good match to work together. Each person is different and unique. And so one important aspect of therapy is to learn about yourself. And it's helpful to have tools that can help you see yourself more objectively and clearly. And we can work on developing those tools together. I wanted to share some thoughts about some of the specific things that people are coming to therapy to deal with. So if you're a client who wants to deal with anxiety, it's helpful to learn about how the instinctive responses, fight or flight, freeze or submit, actually contributes to anxiety. And there are tools you can learn to soothe down out of what's called hyperarousal, and that's helpful to lower anxiety. It's also useful with anxiety to look at specifically what are you afraid would happen if what you were afraid of came true, and then what would come next, and what would come next, and what would come after that. In doing so, you can see whether you can tolerate those things and also what the probability is of all of those things happening. And in going through that process, anxiety is lowered. If you're dealing with depression, it's important to look at the beliefs that you're holding. And so, for instance, there's a pattern called learned helplessness, where you believe that there's something fundamentally wrong. And because there's something wrong inside, whatever you're trying isn't going to work out well. And so subtly and unconsciously, that leads to giving up. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's also a contributing factor often in depression if you have a numbing defense where it's difficult to allow yourself to feel your emotions. If you learn how to look at emotions without being overwhelmed by the intensity of them, then you don't need to put all that energy into unconsciously fending off those feelings. And that helps to deal with depression. If you're dealing with trauma and abuse, the treatment of that is important that it's a phased treatment, a step-by-step treatment, beginning with symptom reduction and then learning how to regulate emotions. And the first of those defenses that's important to deal with often is distrust of yourself and of others. So learning techniques that will help you to work with the protective parts in cooperation with them is useful in successful therapy. Finally, if you're dealing with relationship issues, it's important to learn how to listen. There are tools you can learn that will help you to communicate better, to avoid misinterpretations, and to learn how to negotiate in ways that take care of yourself, and then to recognize when you need to renegotiate if you're having trouble keeping agreements. So these are just a few thoughts in terms of specific things. Some therapists believe that they should be transparent, like to leave you a blank slate in which you can, whatever you're dealing with can emerge. I think that it is important to know some things about your therapist, and that each of us therapists does have some biases, and it's important to try to identify those and make those conscious rather than to pretend that they don't exist. So a couple things to know about me. For 25 years I worked in high tech, and then I did a mid-career transition to become a psychologist. In high tech, I did applications engineering, engineering program management, product planning, sales and marketing, a variety of positions. And so I know what the pressures are in Silicon Valley, the difficulty of balancing your personal life and your work life, and I can help you to navigate through that. For 25 years, I was married to Christy Tollefson-Sackett, and she was a marriage and family therapist who worked with adolescents in her private practice, and she also did therapy in the Santa Clara schools with emotionally disturbed children. For 19 of those 25 years, Chris was dealing with never in remission thyroid cancer. And so we learned a lot about how to successfully cope with the medical community, to support one another, especially when we were really scared. And I learned about needing to take care of the support person as well. In 2012, she passed away from the cancer, and so I've also learned about grieving and how to redefine yourself. So I think some of those things can be helpful to you. The best way to learn about whether we're a good fit is to come in and schedule a first appointment. There is contact information on my website, www.connectingself.com, which is CONNECTINGSELF.com. There's office directions, and there's much more information, much more detail about the things I've been talking about. I'd also be happy to talk over the phone with you and get some feeling whether we're going to be a good match. So I look forward to getting to know you and to talking, and I appreciate your taking the time to listen. Take care.